There, Julie Cross here. Something a little bit different today. Today I'm going to talk about grief. Yes, the G word, grief. Something that we're all going to have to go through because at some point somebody we know is going to die. And that's the grief I want to talk about, the grief around losing somebody. Because I know there's all sorts of grief. There's grief around perhaps a relationship breakup. There was grief for me around Thomas's diagnosis with autism. But today I want to talk about the grief that comes when somebody in your life that you're close to dies. To me, people ask me about my experience of grief and how I would describe it. What I do know, initially I thought maybe it came up with a tick-off box. I remember saying to my doctor, when do I tick this off? You know, when do I know I've done it? And then the realisation came that it's something that I'm living with and around as opposed to perhaps totally ticked off. So for me, the best analogy, and I've written about this before, so you may have read it, but the best analogy for me is that when we lose somebody, we enter an ocean of grief. And depending on the situations perhaps around how we lost somebody or at what stage we lost them, it depends on where we enter the ocean. So if we lose a child, I would suggest that we're entering in a very treacherous part of the ocean, whereas to lose somebody at the end of their life with a very peaceful, healthy kind of death, then perhaps that's a little bit different and you enter in a calmer place. But the grief is still as valid, it's still grief, but you just enter at a different place. So we enter into this ocean of grief. So when my husband died, it certainly felt like I was thrown into the ocean. And when you're initially thrown into the ocean, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. You don't know how to do it. You don't know how to keep your head above water. And it takes all of your emotional and physical energy just to try and get to the surface in some moments, to have a breath. And you feel like you can only live your life in moments, fighting for a breath in each moment. That's how overwhelming and it can be when you're first thrown into the ocean. And it's like you need some life buoys thrown at you with the people on the shore. The support people often do that. It may come in the form of meals dropped off. It may come in the form of somebody sitting with you and spending time, hugging you, listening to you. And we need all of those. They're like life buoys that are thrown to us that we can hold on to and take a little rest for a minute. But what happens, of course, is that when the people leave, they take their life buoys with them. And so we're still left in this ocean. And maybe through that rest we've gotten a little bit stronger and we're able to negotiate a little bit better, but we're often still floundering for some time yet. Until we realise that we have a board and that we can get on and ride on top of this ocean of grief. And that board comes in the form of our resilience and our courage and our strength. And I think it also comes in the unknowing that our loved ones are not wanting us to be floundering around, drowning in this ocean of grief. They really do want us to get on the board and start riding life again and riding this grief. And so we can get up on the board and we realise that other people around us are on their boards and they're able to hop on top of this ocean of grief. And so finally I get on the board and I lay there for some time because at last you can have a little bit of a rest and it does feel better. You start to feel a little more courage, you start to feel a little more strength. The next thing you know that you're on top of the board and you're surfing on top of grief, riding the waves a little bit, riding life. And suddenly you allow some joy to come back into your life and realise that the view from up here is actually pretty good and it's not so bad. And the people on shore are actually looking and noticing you laughing, and sometimes there will be judgments about the fact that you've hopped on your board so quickly. And the fact that you might have sequins on riding the board of life. And then there'll be other judgments of, oh, why doesn't she just get on the board and get on with it? You know, there's no right way to do grief. You have to do grief your way. So you really have to steel yourself to any judgments about that. You've really got to do grief your way. And it's different for all of us, so I can only speak of my experiences. But eventually getting on that board and riding the waves and becoming more skillful at that. One thing I can promise you for sure is the view that I see from my board is so beautiful sometimes, and I can enjoy that beauty in a way that I see people who haven't been in this ocean can't quite get, because with the depth of my floundering and pain comes the heights of my joy and my laughter. And so you allow yourself to find some of those moments as well. But initially you fall off the board quite regularly. But every time you fall off, you have more strength to get back up. And our loved ones are applauding us. They so want us to get up on that board and to ride life. So every time you get back into the ocean of grief and you start drowning again, you get a little bit stronger and you get better at negotiating, getting back up again and riding the waves. And the next thing you know, that you might even make it to the shore. Well, you'll make it to the shore where you can really lay on the beach and have a real rest. And it will feel so great to have be on the shore just with the grief lapping around you every now and again, perhaps at your feet. But every now and again when you're riding those waves, and even when you've made it to the shore, a big wave's going to come and slam into you, and it'll take your feet from under you, and you'll find yourself floundering again around in this ocean. Now, 5 years on, I still get a wave. It's a little bit more time between waves now, I've got to tell you. And you never know when it'll come. And it does knock you for a six. And you fall back into the ocean for a while, and you find yourself floundering again. But you have evidence to know that you can get back up on your board now. So I allow myself those moments now back in that ocean of grief. Rather than try and fight for breath, I tend to lay back now on the ocean and float a little before I get back on my board and ride my board again. But one thing is for sure, that you'll be in good company, and as people around you on shore watch you and how you negotiate this ocean, you become an inspiration for them, because they know they're going to be in this ocean one day. We all are. We all are. So allow yourself to be sad when you're sad, because it's okay to be sad. We have a longing, we have a missing that'll always be there, and that sadness will always show up. So we seem to have become uncomfortable in our society with sadness. We cry, we apologise for it. Why would we be apologising for crying? We don't apologise when we're laughing, when we're smiling. It's as valid as an emotion as laughter, in the right places at the right time with safe people. You know, you're allowed to cry. It's no different. So I remember going to the doctor, some of you have heard this story, but going to the doctor when I had a pinched nerve in my neck. So my husband had just had a stroke. My son was just diagnosed with autism. I was feeling a little bit tense, and I went to bed really tense and woke up in the morning and I couldn't move my neck. And I knew it was a pinched nerve. I needed an anti-inflammatories. Went to a local doctor, not my regular amazing doctor. And he said, well, why have you got a pinched nerve? So I started telling him the story about my husband, and I started to cry. Do you not think that would be appropriate, that I'd be sad? And I was telling him, well, I'm sad because I'm tense, and that's how I got a pinched nerve. And as I started crying, he said, do you want something for it? He meant something for the crying, not my neck. I said, how about a tissue? Like, really? When did sadness become instant, that you need something for sadness instantly? We've got to get rid of it. I had every right to be sad, and I should have been given a space to be allowed to cry. So grief is going to come with some sadness. So do your sadness as well. But get back up on your board and ride life. Your loved ones will be clapping you on from above. They want you to get on that board. So when you're ready, get up and look around, and you'll notice that you're in good company. You're not alone. You're not alone. So you have a right to your sadness, but know for sure that you have a right to your joy. And I know that I see joy in things now that I would never have seen had I not been to the ocean of grief. So the ocean can be treacherous, it can have some rips, but it's got great beauty and peace, and there's so much to be in awe of as well. So allow yourself your grief and your sadness, and then allow yourself your joy. I hope that's helpful. Julie Cross, www.juliecross.com.au. Thank you.